So I was born in an island called Trinidad. Everybody's familiar with Trinidad. Trinidad's famous for steel band, calypso, limbo. Those are all things from Trinidad, you know. So as a kid growing up in Trinidad, if I had to go back today to talk to that kid in Trinidad who was 16 years old and say to him, hey, do you know where you're going to end up when you're 60 years old? That kid would tell me, get out of here. What are you talking about? You know, because he would have no idea how his life was going to change.
Thank you so much for coming onto the show. I really appreciate it. You are beloved by everyone in this office, and Troy, who the audience at this point knows very well, was beyond enthusiastic that you should be the first one from the people that he's helping to serve to come onto the show. So it means a lot that you're here.
Well, I truly appreciate being here. First of all, meeting you, Troy, and going all the way back to Walter. I mean, it's been a journey. Yeah. And this is actually an honor for myself and Safehold Educators being here.
Absolutely. So let's start off with a little, let's just do a current update on tell us what is Safe Health Educators, what's its mission, what's its purpose, and we'll kind of start at that a little bit higher level with the business.
All right, let's start off with the big questions, right?
Yeah, the easy ones, right?
So what is Safehold Educators? Safehold Educators actually was founded in 2006 by myself. The journey was to create a good learning experience. And I think that's what we've been doing so far. So we teach things like advanced life support. We're an American Heart Association training center. Wow. We also hold a lot of other handles that come with it. The idea is, you know, most times people go in to get educated regardless of whatever they're doing or whatever they need, compliancy-wise. It's monotonous, it's boring, and people sit around and go, oh my God, I want this over. We want to create, and we have created, an environment where people are happy to come in. They come back. I mean, I have clients that come from Jamaica, West Indies.
Wow.
I have nurses that come from North Carolina.
That's insane.
Florida, that keep coming back to us. Why? Because if you read their reviews on our Google reviews, and they'll tell you, you know, listen, they learn when they walk in the door until they leave. So which is, you know, when we talk about what is Safehold Educators isn't just me. It's the clients, it's people putting us on the board and saying, hey, we're doing a good job, so we want to keep that standard, you know. So we're about compliancy, we're about keeping you working, whatever you're doing, and that's what we do. That's why we do multiple things we train in, you know.
So what are some of give me, I don't know, like next week, do you know what classes that you're scheduled for next, or what are some examples of classes that you're teaching right now?
Well, good question. So our schedule goes 6 months ahead.
Right.
So, you know,
highly in demand.
Right. Yeah. I know 6 months from now what I'm doing as far as what I'm teaching and what I'm doing. So I do teach a lot of the classes. And if you know, it's kind of one-sided sometimes. Most of the reviews come back to me.
Actually, on that note, if you could bring up, there should be an image of 3 reviews that I captured that is on the computer somewhere. It's like from Google reviews, and if you could just pull that up on the TV when you get a chance. Anyway, I'm sorry, please.
So we talk about, you know, just those Google reviews being one-sided, but it's great, you know, to know that this is the way people feel. Right. And I mean, I'm proud that we're over 500 5-star positive reviews.
That's crazy.
Without any negative reviews.
Wow.
You know, and this is our 17th year. We're going into our 18th year in business.
And so it can be a bit daunting for people that might be listening, for other people that are in those early stages where they're like, I kind of have a business idea, but I don't know maybe I know the next steps to take, but I'm not particularly confident in my ability to accomplish them, or I don't know what order I should take them in. And then they hear you and they're like, oh, well, he's been doing it for 17, 18 years. Like, he doesn't know what the struggle is. But
Oh, I definitely do know what the struggle is.
So take us back to the early days.
So how early do we want to go back to?
Let's go for now. Let's just go to the idea of safe health educators, even if that wasn't the initial idea, but when that came into mind. I know that it started with 2006.
2006.
Yeah.
We actually registered in 2006.
Okay.
As a official business.
Got it.
So going back to, it was one of those things. So I had a bunch of nurses that I work with who wanted to have ACLS done, Advanced Cardiac Life Support, American Heart Association class. So they would come to my house on Sundays. So I did Sunday classes, and then Sunday classes start turning into Saturday, Sunday classes. And Saturday, Sunday classes start turning into Friday, Saturday classes and Sunday. So it got to the point where my wife goes, I'm kicking you out of the house. Too many people. It's getting crazy in here. I come home and there's all these women, all these people in my house. Plus we had animals, we had dogs and stuff. So don't want to get anybody to get hurt too.
But so
she made sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, in that stage, so I mean, talk about bootstrapping. Like, we're going to do this. We're starting, and we're going to start it from the house because that's what we have.
Right.
This is the space that we have. So how did you, if we take a step a little bit further back from there, when and how did you figure out that there was a gap that you could fill through your services, through teaching these individuals? Like, I would, from the outside perspective, I would assume that there's built-in pipelines that exist for this training, that people that need this training are going to just be like, yep, the organization you work for, like, yep, we're going to put you into here or there or whatever. So how did you identify this gap that you could fill? So
I can't say or take 100% credit. This has been around for a long time.
Right.
American Hearts and CPR has been taught for a very long time. The gap is convenience. So people want convenience, meaning if the hospital is only offering it X amount of days a month, and think about thousands of people working for this facility and can't get into a class that's only offered for a certain time. So that's where I saw a gap and I saw a need. And that's why I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to offer it, and I'm going to offer it every day for 6 days. I'm going to put a calendar. And this way, I can cover those gaps, and that's where we, This
is a take notes moment for people out there that are trying to figure out what their value proposition is. How do they cut into the market? Because a lot of people think that the service or the product that they are providing needs to be the value proposition, and that's not the case for you at all. Everything that you do, if I understand correctly, please correct me if I'm wrong, is offered by other people.
Yes.
Right. So you're not coming in with a unique teaching, you come in with which you are a value proposition in and of itself, right, because you're charismatic and you're not monotonous like you were talking about. But then on top of that, you didn't look at it from the perspective of, I need to bring a new certification in. It was, these people need to get certified and we need more flexibility, and I can do that for them. And so the convenience being that value proposition, like, that's just a way to kind of shift people's thinking in those early stages about, like, how to remove some of the self-imposed limitations that they have when they're going out and trying to figure out their business. That's a huge one.
Well, there's a lot of people that start off. There are people who can do business. Yeah. There are people who can start a business, and there are people who can run a business.
That's what a point. What a point. That's so,
go
tell me more. What are your thoughts on that?
So my thoughts is this. If you're going to step into it and you're going to put some money into it, you got to make sure that you're going to look after your investment. The problem is, first of all, we're starting off. This was 2006 recession. Remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Businesses were closing down. And everyone looked at me and said to me, hey, you're out of your mind. You're starting a business in the worst time.
Right.
And my advice was, I'm spending this on me. So the worst case scenario, I can say I spent this X amount of dollars on me and it didn't work. But I spent it on me.
Right.
So this was me.
Investing in yourself.
I was investing in me.
Yeah.
And 17 years later, I'm still investing in me. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I look at it. You know,
Absolutely.
I look at it, I can't tell someone how to create or to run a business. You have to know that once you step into it, is this going to be it? And how it's going to work for me? And also all the people that help you and push you along the way. We can't forget them.
Yeah.
You know what? Because when you forget them, you lose everything else.
Right.
You know, and one of the biggest things I notice in businesses is that people get where they need to go and they don't realize you didn't get there on your own.
Right.
You may have created the path, but there were people that were clearing it for you as you go along.
Right.
And you got to remember that.
It's really interesting. One of the things that you hear frequently is like, oh, look at that overnight success. Where did they come from? Like, this is incredible. And what I think it was Mark Cuban who said something along the lines of, an overnight success is what people see after not seeing the previous 10 years of work that it took to become an overnight success. And but to this point, the reason why I think that this is relevant is because I think that our egos as people that are wanting to launch and start businesses, that once we get that acknowledgement, you're like, oh my gosh, I have been through a lot and it took forever to get here. And people are seeing how good this is now. And I'm so happy that like now my business is booming and all these things are going well. And so you can get kind of wrapped up around this ego train and then end up in a place where you are forgetting those people. You're forgetting
That's a
everyone
bad place.
It's a bad place.
That's a bad place. I haven't been in that spot yet because I don't think like that.
Well,
You know,
that's the
this is
beautiful
not
thing is
about
that
me.
you hit that. I don't know if there's like some sort of big acknowledgement, individual event that's like, you're a really big deal and people should pay attention to you. I mean, you've had several of those just with this business. In 2020, right, you won the Small Business Development Center's Veteran-Owned Business of the Year.
Yeah.
Right?
I did.
That could be a moment.
Yeah.
You know?
But still, you know what I'm saying? Yes, it was great.
Right.
But it's still not a big deal. Meaning, I appreciate it.
Right.
I appreciate that somebody saw and they did that for me. The SBDC stepped in and they go, Rich, kudos to you.
You're the man.
But that doesn't mean, there's no ego in there.
Right.
It's all about, you shake it off and you continue with your business. And then you said, okay,
I think a big part for you maybe is that you're helping people that help people in the most critical of situations. So the people that leave your training are going out there and literally saving lives.
Absolutely.
And so the importance of what you do and how you do it and the efficacy of that is paramount. Your spirit and like who you are is around helping people.
Right.
And so when you stay focused and oriented towards that kind of inner purpose and inner mission, like that can really help to avoid those ego traps that may come up along the way.
Well, an educator, for example. As an educator, educators do two things, right? They transmit that information so that you can understand it. But also, we also learn as educators. So if you walk into a classroom, you should be walking into that classroom with an open mind that somebody in that classroom may teach you something. Yep. And I've learned from my students. I mean, I have a lot of nurses that come through, a lot of doctors, a lot of CRNAs, a lot of anesthesiologists, and they teach you something. They bring something to the table. So it's not about just the educator. It's everyone that's sitting in that room.
Dude, were you guys able to find those? Hey, there we go.
There we go.
There we go. Oh, perfect. Outstanding. That's what I'm talking about. You guys are rock stars. Let's do this. All right, cool. So you were talking about the people that come into your class.
Yes.
Right? And then and they come with these boatloads of experience. And earlier we were talking about people and how they feel when they're leaving. So what I did leading up to this is I wanted to pull some examples of this in detail and what the people are actually saying about your business. Because when I read it, I already knew. I know you briefly. We met, got to spend a wonderful afternoon together, and I saw you and your relationship with like your employees and stuff, and how that interaction goes, and how clean and beautiful you keep your place of business. Outstanding. But then to hear,
appreciate that.
of course. Well, I mean, it's like you do so much good work, and then even the little ends, like there's nothing that's really left undone. Like things are just clean and pristine, and it's gorgeous. Great place to check out. I actually have a ton of photos and pictures and videos that I took while I was there that you allowed me to take, that I want to be sharing associated with this as well.
Oh, excellent.
So,
I appreciate it.
So some of the reviews, we have Charisse at the top. She says, love coming here. I started by taking TNCC. What is TNCC?
It's a trauma nurse core course. So if you're working in the emergency room, this is one of the trauma courses you have to take to be able to work in the emergency room.
And you guys teach that class?
Yes.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
That's so
We have
crazy.
one of our instructors. Her name is actually Sherry also.
Oh my
And she is an excellent TNCC instructor.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so she said she did that in the ACLS, which you talked about earlier, 10 years ago in 2013. 10 years later, I moved 1.5 hours away, and I will always come back here to renew. She's still an hour and a half away. I mean, given she was not that close before. She
Right.
was much further.
Yeah.
But she's still an hour and a half away. And she's like, no question, this is the place that I'm going. Rich, then this is a call out specifically to you. Rich is always so informative and teaches in a way where it's easy to remember. I recommend 10 out of 10. How great of a review is that?
Yeah,
but it's not over. The next one. Marcy, but wait, there's more.
There's more.
She said, finally did the ACLS course that I was dreading for the longest time. I have to say, Rich is the person you want to teach this class. He's just so knowledgeable and teaches with such clarity. I highly recommend this location for your ACLS, BLS, and any other class that Rich teaches. Like if he's teaching it, you just go there and get it. And so the BLS is Basic Lifesavers.
Basic lifesaver, yeah.
Yeah, cool. What does that entail? I know from the Army, like we did Basic Lifesavers course. I don't know how similar.
It's really the same. We're teaching you CPR.
Got it.
We're
Okay.
teaching you CPR.
Okay.
Basically, that's what it is.
Outstanding. Can we go to the next one, please? And this is the last one. Amanda, I'm not going to try the last name. So that's a whiskey. Rich, this is the one. I saw this and I was like head over heels. This was crazy. Because just the first line. So Rich was recommended to me from every nurse at my hospital. And now I recommend him as well. The classes are straightforward and provide you with real world skills. I had to travel from Brooklyn to get there and it was 100% worth the trip. I even came in 2 days in a row to complete BLS, ACLS, and PALS. So we need to know what that is. I will be back when it's time to renew. So what's PALS?
So it's Pediatric Advanced Life Support. So that deals more with kids.
Right.
So it's all so when you look at ACLS, Advanced Cardiac Life Support, and PALS, Pediatric Life Support, Advanced Life Support, basically the algorithms kind of look the same.
Okay.
But dosages change, and the way we
course.
do things versus pediatric versus adults, of course, is a big deal. On the pediatric side, everything is weight-based. On the adult side, we do standard dosing.
Got it.
So it's two separate classes. One basically for pediatrics, and one is for adults.
And you guys have, I remember going into the training facilities, you guys have like infant dolls, don't you?
Yeah.
Like, but like real,
Yeah.
no joke, like interactive.
Yes. Also, I'm glad you brought that up. So we just started. We're the only one in New York that actually is doing it right now. Other than NYU in the city is actually using it for surgery. We're using it for training, virtual reality.
Get out of here.
So
So how
we-
does that work?
So at the end of the ACLS or PALS or any one of our classes, we can put you into a virtual world, give you a patient, give you staff,
Wow.
give you family members,
Holy smokes.
so we can create a real experience for you. This is about you going in and, see how your skills are. And so far we have a lot of videos online about it. And everybody loves it.
And so are the videos on your website?
Yes.
Could you guys pull that up onto the screen, please? I know you just switched it back. Thank you. And just go through the kind of the different pages. But if you can find where it talks about that, but that's incredible because you get, I mean, a lot of times I guess not really a lot of times. This was an awkward thing for me in the Army, was that you'd go in for your different kind of lifesavers courses and depending on your MOS, like your military occupational specialty and all those things. I was never in a health field, so I never needed to go to like the upper echelons of understanding. But even the basic stuff, when we talk about nasopharyngeals, right? So that's like you have this long tube that goes into your nose, and it's got to go. You got to hit this like popping point where it actually can go through and get down to your throat, so that way it opens up the airways. That was always the least amount of fun for everyone to do.
Right.
And so, I mean, you get like the little bit of like lubricant that you can
put, but water soluble jelly here.
Oh, it's terrible. It was like the most awkward feeling because you really do it to you get a battle buddy, you go lay it down on the ground and you do it to each other, and it's the worst.
It's the same thing with IVs. It's the same. We practice on each other.
Yeah, but it's like, but the transition, what I think is crazy, but it's like, how else would you do it? Is that you'd sit there, like we're sitting now, like at a desk. They're in front. They have like pictures and they're describing whatever's going on. And they're like, okay, cool. Now we're gonna do it. And you're like, wait, we're gonna like do that now.
Yes.
Like, but I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, you showed me a picture of this thing in somebody's nose, and I'm just supposed like. And so the idea of you integrating technology into this in the virtual reality space, like, it gives you that I think that really helpful step in between. You learned it. We talked about it. You understand conceptually what's going on. And all right, here's a person, like, let's go. Right. So it gives you that kind of step in between, which I think is really good.
The good thing about the virtual reality world is when we put you into this world, you could do all those skills. You can intubate. You can start an IV. You could put them on the monitor. You could see the monitor. You can shock the patient. Everything that you would do in a real emergency room, you're doing in the virtual world without harming anyone.
That's crazy. So I think that's profound.
Muscle memory, right?
Isn't that so cool?
Muscle memory.
Is it on this website?
So go down to, I think,
maybe service
on the bottom. Go all the way down on the bottom. It should be blog.
Scrolling.
I think he did put it in our blog. If not, on my Facebook page,
go up just the hair. Go down a little bit. Was this
Is it blog?
Oh, that's the online course catalog.
Hold on. We should have. Hold on. Go back up to. This is our new website, believe it or not.
Hey. Look, there he is. Go doing work. Sorry. Right, I get hyped.
So, blog, see?
Oh, there it is. Yeah, it was right at the top.
To go down.
Virtual reality.
Yeah.
Oh, look, there it is. So you got, she's got the headset on. She's got the headset on.
Yes.
They got the controllers, and you can see them on the screen there. Yeah, so that's really cool. So they're in one of the classrooms in which you do the teaching. Right. And so you don't need like some special extra space. You just clear out the tables and desks. So
if you look at the two of them, right, they're looking at an empty space, right?
Right.
But if you look at the television, that's what they're looking at.
Yeah. Yeah, and so they're able to see, whatever their patients there. You even see in the back, there's like the monitoring station.
So they're seeing it, and we're seeing what they're doing.
Oh.
So we could do constructive intervention.
Right.
So if we have to, after we have like a hot washroom where we could sit down and go back and forth, and they go, well, we did this, and then we get to correct certain things on our end if they're not correct. And they can also say, hey, listen, we did this. And we could show them all the things that they did or didn't do.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
How amazing is that? So if we go back, you can go back to the standard. If we go back to the process of the business, so your wife has had enough. The animals are
Right.
not down with the cause, right?
Right.
And so what happens next?
So what happens next is I start looking for a place. So I ended up renting a small 900 square foot office.
All right. It's a little something.
A little something. Very cheap from a friend of ours and in Baldwin. This was on Church Street in Baldwin. And we actually operated there up until 3 years ago.
Holy smokes.
Until we moved to the new facility.
That's outstanding patience.
Yeah.
And time and development. Was there a desire to leave the space particularly earlier, or were you comfortable and was it able to meet? Did you outgrow it? Like, what was the impetus for eventually changing into a different space?
So, well, outgrowing it is one.
Okay.
Two, I know this was not going to be the final space.
Okay. Even when you moved in from day one, you're like, this
from
is
day
not-
one, I know this is where we're going to start, but I want to move on because I wanted to have my own facility, something that I created, something that I designed, because I know what people look at.
Right.
A lot of people can tell you they go to certain places for education, and it's dirty. I'm a big bathroom freak, so
I know your bathrooms in your building now are fabulous.
yeah. So the reason being is, who wants to go into a stinky bathroom? Nobody. So I'm a big bathroom freak. So one of the things in my new building that I designed is these fantastic bathrooms.
Gorgeous.
Because, especially when you have, almost 80% of my customers are females.
Wow.
So you want to make sure that they have a comfortable environment, a clean environment, and a safe environment.
Yep.
So I knew I was going to create that. Even in the old building, the bathrooms were immaculate. Trust me.
I have no doubt.
So, but we had to move on. Eventually we had to move on. The idea was to buy the building I was in. And then, so I came to the SBDC, and that's when I started my pilgrimage.
Right.
Yeah. So when I came here,
first,
go ahead.
How did you hear about the SBDC? Like, how did that even idea come into your head?
So I am big on research, and looking around online, researching companies, researching banks. How am I going to finance this? Where am I going to get the money?
Got it.
And then the SBDC came up.
Hello.
And then I said, you know what? They're right in Farmingdale. Let me make an appointment. I'm going to go see someone there. And that's how I found Walter Reed.
Walter Reed, in the Hall of Fame, legendary. Did you just see him?
Oh my God. I want to see him. Yeah. I want to meet him again.
Yes.
So when I met Walter, I came in, I sat in his office here in Farmingdale. And he looked at it and he goes, this is a great idea. He goes, I love the idea. He goes, you're not ready. I go, okay, explain. I was disappointed, of course.
Of course.
Here I have, someone from the SBDC, which I'm holding to a high standard because.
And you're here to support me.
And I heard him say, you're not ready yet. But you know what? He was right. I was not ready because we were only a few years in business. So he said to me, he goes, do me a favor. Come back in 3 years, bring all your stuff, and we're going to make this happen. He goes, you have a good, business plan. It's a great idea for the business. You're already operating. Come back and see me. Wow. And
it's hard to hear those truths sometimes.
Yeah, as time went by, we grew, and Didn't think about the SBDC for a while. Didn't think about,
Forget
anything else. And then I ended up meeting, other people. And I ended up meeting Troy.
Yeah, Troy, coincidentally enough, something that you and I have in common is that he was both of our business advisors.
Yeah.
Because I was a client here before I was an employee, and Troy is my business advisor.
That's great.
It's a fun, cool little circle of coincidence.
So I don't have to tell you about him,
No, but please, tell the audience about, because they've been able to see him on the show and get his perspective, but to understand kind of who he is behind, like off camera when he's working with clients. Like, what was your experience working with Troy?
So Troy was actually introduced to me, and to be honest with you, I can't remember who introduced us, but it was someone from this office. Okay. And also a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, who's, I can't mention his name.
Sure.
And he said, speak to this guy. He would be the perfect person to put this business plan the way it should be. You have one, but we could fix it.
Right.
So then Troy came into the picture. I was also sent to another person in Hempstead, another SBDC advisor in Hempstead, which I was not happy with. Basically, he just, he turned around and he goes, yeah, this is not going to work. Come see me. And he made a bunch of appointments. You got to come see me a couple of times and we'll talk. And I never went back. And then I met Troy. And that was a whole total different.
It's definitely important to find somebody that you're on the same page with. And some
someone who wants to listen.
Yeah.
Someone who wants to listen. Listen, that's the big thing, right? We're married, right? So you don't listen, you pay, right?
There's a problem.
So you have to listen. So the idea is that gentleman didn't want to listen. I don't think he wanted to be bothered. But it wasn't a scar on the SBDC because I continued my journey. Right. Met Troy, who put this all together, and I got the financing to buy my building, the building we're in right now.
Wow.
Which is still in Baldwin.
And that story is incredible.
Yeah.
Give us the background of that building.
We ended up meeting Troy. Troy put it all together. We actually got financing for the building. And so going back to the building, so this building's been around Baldwin for a very long time. It sits next to the firehouse. It sits opposite the library. It's its own building. It's 3,500 square feet.
That's a huge upgrade from where you're at, 900.
From 900 to 35, right? So it's a great thing. And then, but it was, the building was suffering. It needed a lot of work because it's been abandoned for a long time. So the building was built in 1949, I believe. So it's been around for a long time. It's a full concrete structure.
Just post World War II.
Yeah. So we ripped everything down. We rebuilt it from the ground up the way I wanted it, which is what I wanted.
What did you, when you walked into that building, when you saw it and you walked in, what was that experience like? So
it was funny. The realtor brought me to the building and he says, I know you're not going to like this. He goes, it's a very old building. It doesn't look that great, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. I remember walking in the front door, stepping into the foyer, looking around and turning to him and saying, I'm going to own this building. And he says, you're out of your mind. I said, no. I said, this is it. This is it. I know. This is it. And the day we closed and the construction was finished, I brought him back to the building. And he said to me, he goes, you have a vision.
Right.
He goes, and you saw it. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I go, well, I told you I was going to buy this building, and we did.
When you go in there now, you couldn't imagine it being anything else.
No.
It's perfect.
Yeah. And that's what people want. They want to come into a nice, clean, comfortable place. Safety, because the building is very safe. Mm-hmm. There's cameras all over. Inside, outside, everybody's protected. And you got to be buzzed into the doors.
Yep. I noticed when I was walking up, I was like, I'm being watched from the second that I didn't even pull into the parking lot yet.
Yep.
And Rich knows I'm here.
It's the whole building is run by a computer system. So, with the heat and everything else. So it's and I can remote into the building at any time.
Wow. Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah.
Especially for a facility like that, because I know that you have a lot of very high-end equipment. You have real blood being pumped into dummies, so to speak.
Mannequins.
I was waiting. I was like, no, there's a proper term for this. So yeah, you have, and so it's like, I think it matches like blood pressure and like how where it would come out and everything.
We have from monitors to equipment. Most of our equipment, it's a lot of money and a lot of equipment in there, and it's all got to be temperature controlled anyway to keep them in good condition.
Right.
So as far as the building goes, I'm happy with the outcome. Like I said, we're going into 18 years pretty soon. Yeah. And, we're hoping to be around for a long time. The Baldwin community, we're in great community.
And you're right next door to the fire station.
Next to the firehouse, opposite the library. I can't complain about anything as far as the community goes. So we have a great location. Big parking lot. You saw the parking lot in the back.
Huge. Which is great for
it's all the check boxes, as we call it,
Yeah.
You get all the check boxes, you're good to go.
No, it's great. Yeah. It's great. It's super easy to get to and everything. Yeah. When so if we go back a bit further in your story, what I will just give immediate praise to Troy, because Troy said he's like, you've got to have Rich talk to you about the story of immigration, him as a kid and growing up, because it's so compelling. And I know through the stories that we talked about, were some of the most interesting things to me were your time working with the UN, which is out of this world, the things that you experienced. So if there's just as far as kind of giving people a picture of like who you are and how you got to be the way that you are now and your personality type, like what was the childhood like?
My personality type.
Yeah.
Right? So before I answer your question, I am definitely going to answer your question. I just want to give a shout out to Troy, because Troy was actually the person who put me up for the SBDC award.
Hey, get it, Troy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And not only
so that was across the entire state.
Yeah.
So I would say let's go Farmingdale, but really it's like let's go Rich. Like you made Farmingdale.
Let's go SBDC.
It was just a perfect confluence of events.
It was great, especially when Troy put me in for it. Troy is a very humble person.
Truly,
he's very humble. And when he said to me, he goes, "Listen, Rich, I'm not guaranteeing you, but I want to put you in for this." But there's no guarantees. Right. So he made sure he didn't build my hopes, And then all of a sudden he says, "Oh, you got the award." And like I said, "Yeah, I got a letter." And he goes, "I'm like, oh, thank you very much." And we were excited,
Yeah.
And there is an interview with him and I that we did.
Oh, is there really?
When we got the award, because it was during COVID, so we couldn't do a physical.
Sure.
So we did it, and then when they did the whole award ceremony, it was done via webinar.
Oh,
so there's Troy and I talking a lot.
We're gonna have to find that video and get the link, and yeah. Perfect.
So it's on there. So to answer your question, so I was born in an island called Trinidad. Everybody's familiar with Trinidad. Trinidad's famous for steel band, calypso, limbo. Those are all things from Trinidad. So as a kid growing up in Trinidad, it's funny, I said this yesterday to a friend of mine. If I had to go back today to talk to that kid in Trinidad who was 16 years old and say to him, "Hey, do you know where you're going to end up when you're 60 years old?" That kid would tell me, "Get out of here. What are you talking about?" Because he would have no idea how his life was going to change. Mm-hmm. I came to the U.S., and I'm going to skip forward a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So I came to the
U.S.
U.S.
At 16?
I was a kid.
That's
and 16 going into 17. And, I was traveling back and forth from Trinidad to the U.S., and then I stayed. And then when I was able to join the military, I went into the military.
Yeah. You went into the Air Force.
Into the Air Force.
And you said you had some very interesting things happen to you there.
Yes. We
don't have to dive into it if you don't want to.
We are not going to dive into it.
Okay.
Because, and Veterans Day is coming up.
Yes, it is.
To all the veterans, you
as well.
Thank you for your service.
Huge respect.
We don't realize how much these guys give. And for people who sit in the seat of a veteran, they don't understand how many Christmases, how many Easters, how many birthdays, how many parties that you miss. Mm-hmm. And ask my wife, she'll tell you. And
the burdens that you carry that nobody sees.
And so I'd just like to say something, and this is not political by any means. We should be taking care of our veterans. Okay. They deserve better. 100%. So I'm a big supporter of any veteran, all veterans. They can, they need to be treated properly. Yep. Anyway, to move on. So I did some time in Ramstein, Air Force Base in Germany. Yeah. And then I came home and I worked for a hospital called Mercy Hospital.
I was actually born in a hospital called Mercy. It was Bergen Mercy in Omaha.
Well, this was right here in Rockville Center. So, when we talk about people that help you along the way that we forget, people like Sister Catherine, Sister Rita. Mercy Hospital was run by the nuns back in those days. Right. And those Sister Catherine and Sister Rita. Sister Rita was my mentor. She was the one that pulled me under her and said, hey, listen, this is what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. And I'm Roman Catholic.
Same.
So I'll tell you, when a nun tells you you're going to do something, you do it.
Oh, yeah.
Growing up Roman Catholic, that's what we know.
Yep.
So, which is good, it builds character and, the way you are and the way you treat others, right? So, there were a couple of scholarships that was offered, and I got a scholarship to go into nursing, which I did. Wow. I worked Mercy Hospital, then I left Mercy Hospital, worked at South Nassau, which is now MSSN, because, now they're a bigger hospital. So I worked there, and then I left that and worked for the United Nations.
So talk to me about that transition, because the United Nations stories and what you did there is incredible. Mm. But how do you make that jump? How do you get from being a nurse at these hospitals to, like, I'm going to work at the UN?
Leaving it all and walk away from nursing.
Right.
So the idea here is, and I'm going to jump back into, when we look at making a transition, and is what you want, is what you feel, is where your mind and your heart's taking you. Right. And the UN job came up, and it was something I wanted to do. Also, I've been a volunteer on the island, a volunteer firefighter, paramedic on the island for a long time. So I had some of that, experience. I would say to anyone who has a child right now, and if they can go into the volunteer system, it builds character. It also helps them. And also, I believe that if you are in the volunteer system as a volunteer, you can go to any state college for free.
Wow. That's helpful.
Yeah. So think about that. That's, helpful for some of these people. So that's just off topic. So the job with the UN was to open firehouses and train firefighters in war-torn countries.
Easy job.
Very easy job. And that was
you're not gonna go to the nice places. Like, where's the worst places on earth? Let's send Rich there. And let's try to start with resources.
Let's send him there while they're fighting.
Right. With a boatload of resources to start a fire station. Mm-hmm. And then, everything should be fine.
Yeah. Well, it's the thing is, if you like what you do, you tend to forget everything else that's going on around you,
Right.
and get involved and see what you could do.
So where did you go?
I've been to a couple of places,
Here and
and I'm going to give you my last mission, which
Okay.
was Kosovo.
Okay.
So Kosovo, Bosnia. So with that, we fell under security.
Oh, okay.
So we were basically firemen with guns, basically,
Got it.
which is an oxymoron if anybody knows,
Yeah,
right?
no, that's typically don't go together.
So you had, we had multiple positions we were filling. So when you weren't doing this, you were doing something else. So in Kosovo, we did a lot of good stuff in Kosovo. I created a program getting kids off the street. We actually would, raise money and get these kids, instead of them selling candy all night and 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, they're on the streets. We got them off the streets where they could actually go to school and, provide some sort of funding for them. Plus, on the fire side, I got fire gear donated from all over the United States
Really?
to some of these firehouses that I went to. So I have a lot of pictures that show you with these guys fighting fires, and on the back of their uniform, you're in a foreign country, and it says Merrick Fire Department, Farmingdale Fire Department, Baldwin Fire Department. You see all these, it was just amazing.
Wow.
And you take a picture of that and you go, wow, look at this. But this was just how great our system, we don't realize how good the system is here. Nothing like home. Remember Dorothy, right?
Oh, yeah.
No place like
No
home.
place like home.
There is no place like home. So with these guys coming in and having no gear, and they were wearing slippers on their feet fighting fires, we put them into old fire gear, which they cherish. We got helmets. The British government, which I work a lot with the Brits, actually donated. They were called green goddesses, military men. You should remember the green goddess.
100%.
So they donated over 100 green goddesses to our cause. They actually fixed them up.
But for everyone else that is not familiar with the green goddess,
So
give
the
a little background.
green goddess is the old World War II fire trucks.
Yeah.
And there were tons and tons of it.
Try to pull up an image of them because it's spectacular.
Yeah. And
So how many did you get?
we got over 100.
So they had 100 of these green goddesses. Just like-
all over, wherever they got them from, and they send them to us. And they put them on, they clean them up, they send them to us. We distributed them. We actually got a couple of places in the U.S. that donated fire trucks.
wow.
The British also donated brand new fire helmets.
That's huge.
Hundreds of fire helmets to these guys. So we got these guys equipped, ready to go. And when we left,
I'm trying to think about the logistics of like getting these fire trucks from the States and from Britain.
it sounds crazy, doesn't it?
It sounds insane.
But you know what? It fell into place. You make a phone call, and that phone call went off to another phone call, and this person goes, "Oh, I know somebody," and before you know it, you were getting a phone call back. Hey, this is what I have. This is what's coming to you.
Spectacular.
No one was asking for money.
Wow.
No one was asking to pay for anything. They were like, "Here we go, here we go, here we go."
Holy smokes. Any luck on our green goddesses?
Excuse me.
Green goddess, World War II, fire truck?
Fire truck.
I can't wait.
World War
This
II
is so
Green
cool.
Goddess fire truck.
Yeah, that should do it.
Or you could put British in front of it.
Show us these British.
I have tons of pictures
Show
of
us
it
these
too.
British beauties.
Yeah. Yep.
And so this was in Kosovo.
Yeah.
Wow. So what years were you in Kosovo? When did that whole thing go down?
So-
like you being there.
So it was all the way 99 to 2000, almost into 2001.
Wow. Oh, there we are.
Yeah.
So
those are them.
These are them?
Those are the green goddesses.
Oh my gosh. Can you pull up let's see. Yeah, let's see. Oh no, that's a video.
That one.
Yeah, let's see that one. Can you make that bigger? Oh my gosh! Look at the
And it came with the stripes too.
Did it really?
They,
You had 'em with
they
the
were
stripes?
painted with the stripes. They were, yeah,
Oh my gosh! You could see the bell, a literal physical bell on top.
on the top, yeah.
Look at the tires. You know that this is World War II era. Like how skinny.
Fantastic.
Oh my gosh!
I love driving those things.
got the-
They were amazing.
So you got to drive. Some
Oh,
of
yeah.
these? Oh my gosh! And were they British? Was it on the other side? Were they like? Was everything oriented? The
No,
other
it was British on the other side.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
That's so incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got the hose on the side there, even rocking a little British flag.
So what we did is we made adapters for it
Oh, really?
to adapt to what they have. So
Oh, sure.
we can
Yeah.
use the hoses and we can just connect. And
Oh, so that's interesting. Okay, so you're going there and setting up these fire stations. One of the things you talked about how grateful you are to be able to come back home into a place like this, and how much our infrastructure. This is kind of how I interpreted what you were saying, like how great our infrastructure is, and the things that we just take for granted. Like, yeah, we have fire stations everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
you never really have to think about like, is someone gonna put my house out if it starts on fire? Like, yeah, they're going to. And you don't even have to ask them. Like, yeah, you call as soon as you can, but like, they're going to be there. But the things that come, that an additional layer, if I'm working on like my gratitude practice right now, like that's incredible. And you go through all the technology that exists on a fire truck, all of the hours and years of training that each of those people have that are showing up. But how much of that is relevant when you don't have the infrastructure of water that you can pipe into on every block? You know, like I was just watching Gangs of New York, and they were showing a building that was on fire, and they had one of the fire departments that were warring with another one. But before they were like, you're getting these buckets.
Bucket brigades.
Bucket brigades, exactly right.
Yeah.
And so like we have water that's piped there. So how do you manage that component of it when you're in these war-torn countries? Is there infrastructure like that? Or
So there was some. So for example, we have, the water tenders, which we fill with water and then we drive to the scene.
Oh, so like a truck filled with water.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, we're bringing, 500 gallons.
Got it. Okay.
But just remember, we have to make 500 gallons work.
Exactly. Because
So-
that sounds like a lot, but when you're
It's-
putting out a fire, like depending on the size and scope of what's going on,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. I mean, we had a lot of fires, a lot of fires. And,
were a lot of those from the war.
yeah.
Okay.
And people,
Yeah.
people just burning others out. It was just a lot of hate. A lot of hate was happening, So people were just burning, their neighbors' houses. One of the big ones is they burned this whole tremendous community center. And if you actually look at my Facebook page, I have a picture of it, of that whole building burning.
You have to log into Facebook.
Yeah.
If you can do that quickly, by all means.
And it's amazing what you see, This building was all brass. And what does brass and heat do? You know what I'm saying? And it was actually 4 stories underground. So we were there.
Oh my God.
We were there for weeks fighting this fire.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Weeks.
Yep.
That's like when we get to that point in the States, I suppose we're getting air support. We're getting, helicopters flying in, dropping off.
No helicopters.
Yeah, no way.
No resources other than what you have.
Yeah. Oh my. So in a situation where you're like, do you have multiple trucks with 500-gallon capacities and you're doing these like rotationals, like you go back and refill? Was
You're
access,
dealing with 2 trucks, that's going back and forth,
Yeah.
filling water.
and just cycling?
You're not dealing with, but we do have the British military who backed us up because that area was the British, fell under the British, because this was Pristina, which was the capital.
Got it.
And so the British military backed us up, and they had their, good pumpers, you know what I'm saying? So they brought their water and, of course, their resources and their firefighters, which I happened to work with some of the greatest men, British firefighters, fantastic guys,
Wow.
Yeah.
What was I pulling
Is it your personal page?
Yeah, my page on. If you look me up,
Oh my God! Look at all the fire
I spent
inside
weeks
of
in that building. Yeah,
Oh
we actually had 5 local firefighters trapped that I found and brought out of that building
Holy! Did they make
because the
it?
building did collapse in some areas. Yeah,
Oh my gosh! So you had to. This was like
I found them by mistake.
This is like leading into the business. Like
Yeah.
you got to do these emergency
Yeah.
rescue situations.
These guys were just trapped in a corner, and it was just so happened I was going by, making sure nobody was in the area, and I saw them in the corner. I remember it's pitch black, smoke everywhere. These 5 guys in the corner, and then I grabbed them and I said, "Listen, we're gonna hug the wall and we're gonna come right out."
It was so were you able to get them all in one go, like just to kind of
Everybody followed me out. Yeah,
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's 5 people. You have a lot of stories of
I know.
this, of lives being saved by your hands alone, not to mention everyone that's lives get saved because of the training that you do. Wasn't there, I believe, if I remember correctly, there was a story about about a baby?
Oh yes. So we were standing by for the Oceanside Fire Department. While we were there, a father drove up onto the ramp and handed me his daughter. And he said, "Help my child." We looked at her. She was blue. She was in cardiac arrest. Oh, my God. We actually started CPR on her, shocked her, and brought her back.
You shocked her because you had the pediatric.
Well, the ambulance was right there, so we put her right into the ambulance.
Oh, my God.
We took her at the time, it was South Nassau, which is now MSSN. And we took her to the hospital, and she made it.
That's incredible.
I believe she was 6 years old.
6-year-old, totally.
My first true pediatric arrest.
Oh, my God.
And yeah.
What's the reaction from the family? Like, what's...
The father thought his daughter had died, I believe.
Yeah.
So when he was walking in, he saw me. I was doing the paperwork. And I said to him, "She's okay." I said, "Come, I'll take you to her." I took her to his daughter. And then his wife showed up, and then I went back and did my paperwork.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Just another, moment on the job. Like, people are going to take, like, a
It
knee and...
takes a while. When it comes to a child, things change. And the way you think changes because, you realize there's no second chance here.
Right.
Get it right. And so I think I was lucky that day.
Yeah.
The child lived, but I was the lucky one.
How so? What do you mean?
Because if that child had died, it would have
wrecked
affected
you.
me a lot. I
Right.
think so, yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully her living affects you a lot in the sense that, like that person gets to live a full life because you were there.
I mean, I would know where she is or who she is
Right.
today.
And where was
but-
this at again?
Oceanside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's incredible. One question I'm trying to ask people in your position that actually have done this, that have had the idea for the business, gone out and done the work, and have seen success on the other side. If you reflect back on your time, can you identify a particular moment that can serve as like your breakthrough moment? Like where there was before this thing happened and then there's after this thing happened and it was a difference in your reality. Like, what was your business
So are we
breakthrough?
talking business?
Business?
So I would guess it would be me thinking about buying the building and me actually
Pulling the trigger.
getting the building. As far as, going through all the steps in between where you're still uncertain if this is going to happen. Mm-hmm. So you go to sleep at night, and I had a lot of sleepless nights, trust me. Yeah. You go to sleep at night and you're thinking, hey, is this going to happen? I hope it happens. And I believe in God. So, you start saying to God, hey, listen, man, help me out.
Yeah. Help me look out for other people. I swear I'm doing your work.
There's no second thing here. I just want to make this happen so I could do this, so I can continue doing what I'm doing for my family, we always have to think about, you always want to create your mark, right?
Right.
So it was that time, that transition in applying for all this stuff for that building, not losing it because I wanted it,
Right.
and then finally signing the documents with the owners because it was handed down to an estate. So the folks in the estate I was dealing with,
Yeah.
and getting that paperwork signed that day and walking out and going, wow.
Are you able to talk a little bit about the details behind what happened in that situation with other people that were also putting in?
So, yeah, there were quite a number of people putting in for that building. I was not the only one. It needed a lot of work, so a lot of people, some people were deterred by it, but some people wanted it.
Right.
So I was actually taking out the bid earlier on, and then it came back about a month later.
Yes, you were removed. They were like,
Right.
thank you for applying. That's nice. Move on. Like,
Right.
we're not going to consider your...
Right.
Right.
And then they came back and they offered it to me.
So how does that happen?
So at the closing, I found out that the wife of the gentleman had done research on me and done research on the business. And she was talking to my wife and I at the closing, and she said, you know, with this business that he's doing and what he does, I like it. And I think the building's going to be around for a long time, so she wanted me to have it. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. This is another like pause, write this down moment for people that are listening.
Yeah.
Because people will discount the work that they do early on, the work that they do before the business, the work they do in the business in the early days, and the way that they handle and manage employees and customers and partners and collaborators and all of this stuff, because they're like, oh, well, I'll operate this other way once I make it.
Right.
But right now I have to be like ruthless and I have to not really care about people's feelings or whatever. But like your access to this building, which has transformed your business, is
no doubt
was truly based upon your character and your values that aren't just expressed in words, but that you have lived out for years and that are reflected then in paper and online in articles and all of these things. And then your vision and mission with that business, those were the things that got you the building. You weren't even the highest bidder, if I remember correctly.
No, I was not.
So they took a lower amount. They brought you back from the dead, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then they gave that offer to you. That's incredible.
Yeah. Well, you know, I also got to give my wife credit. She is my 50-50 partner.
100%.
So she owns 50% of the business. But, you know, she also, it's not just my sacrifices. She also sacrificed along with me. Because remember, we're married.
Yes.
So whatever sacrifices I'm making it with her.
They're getting
So,
co-signed at the very minimum.
Yeah.
Get it, ladies.
So to my wife, Diane, I have to say, you know, thank you very much. You know?
Absolutely.
So she was good.
Yeah, there are business partners and then there's like business partners. You know what I mean? And so
Well, this is a business partner. I can't, you know.
it's both. It's both.
We're stuck with each other. So
Yeah.
this is it. You know what I'm saying?
And your guys' relationship seems amazing. It's
No, we do
outstanding.
have a good relationship.
Yeah.
You know,
That's cool.
there's no doubt I love my wife.
Yeah.
And, you know, we get along great. So I think as far as the business goes, you know, she knows the business also. And she's been an emergency room nurse for 40 years. The woman's been around nursing for a long time.
In that level of trauma for so long. That's so crazy.
I'm going to give my wife credit right now. If there is a nurse that had to take care of me, it would be my wife.
Wow.
That's how much, you know, and this is not because we're married, because the
that's your
skill
wife.
set
Yeah.
is unbelievable.
Yeah.
What hospital is she at?
She's at Mount Sinai, South Nassau, in the ER. Yeah.
Wow. There you go. Shout out, man. Sign.
Yeah.
All right. The last thing, and before I just leave it to you and anything else that you want to add or put on, for somebody, you can choose either one or you can kind of address both. For somebody that's in that ideation phase, that's like, I have the idea for the business and I think I want to move forward, but I'm not sure exactly how to do it. and or for somebody who has their business and is looking to expand, what would your insight be for them, or what would your advice be for them given your track record and your experience?
I'm going to give them both the same advice.
Okay.
And it's pretty simple. They need to get, it works. The SBDC works. And I'm not saying that because I'm on your podcast.
I didn't know he was going to say that.
I'm saying that because I used it.
Right.
So a lot of people in business have no idea the resources that are available. They don't. And they don't understand some of the talent behind that resources, like, meeting advisors like yourself, meeting advisors like Troy,
Other level.
going back to Walter, I also, Walter Reed, I'll never forget, for putting me on the right track. But get in touch with the SBDC. It worked for me.